are about to write a platform to basically enable that. And I met them here in Malta because I said, guys, this cannot be a coincidence. You are working on the same thing I was thinking about, but I will never execute because this is really detailed legal work as well. So I brought them over here to Malta. They pitched a Shark Tank. We asked for a ridiculous amount of money for Malta anyway. It was too soon, but our time will come. So, did I forget anyone? Hey, Janina, you want to say something before we start, or are you just observing as a master?
Yeah, I'm just listening. I don't have anything to say. I'm just
Okay, perfect.
looking at
So,
the background.
yes. So every week we are having interesting interview partners, and normally we just talk online. But we are also meeting in Malta in March here. So we still have some spots left where we work 1 week, 8 days on the concept of a co-living DAO. So really we get our hands dirty, people come over. So it's not just a nice landing page and a Telegram group. We also have fun along the way. This is really important. So 4 minutes 20. I'm quiet. Daniel, Garrett, introduce your project. Tell us your story, tell us your why, how you came up with this idea, tell us what you did in the last 2 years, tell us what will happen in Malta, and tell us what will happen with the end of the rents enslaving humanity.
Rent slavery. That's a great point, Daniel, and thank you so much for the introduction. Appreciate it. And great to see all of you here as well. And yes, just like you say, a lot of people right now are pretty much stuck paying rent, and it's getting increasingly frustrating because paying rent is a bit like throwing money down the drain in a way. And right now, unfortunately, it's pretty much the only way to live in a co-living space. So for people that want a little bit more from their living environment, it's very difficult to become owners. And by the way, it's becoming difficult to become homeowners in general. The price of assets, especially residential property, is just going up and up and up. If we measure that, not just in fiat currency, because of course it's very likely that most assets will go up against an inflationary asset like that. But if we measure the price of property just in relation to the wages, it takes more and more years of work for people to become homeowners. And that's because people use property to park their money, to bank on capital appreciation and investment, making it very difficult for people to truly be owners. So what we're doing here at Co-Living DAO is really we want to offer a third way. Why choose between getting a mortgage, getting in debt, and being inflexible with the way you're living, or paying rent, being very flexible but not owning anything and not banking on capital appreciation, and not having a voice as well. That's a big point as well. So that's why we're here. And yes, Gareth, do you want to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about how we met and how this all came about?
Yeah, I'd be delighted. Yeah, so to go back to the beginning, back in 2018, I moved into what was then the UK's biggest co-living. In fact, I think it was Europe's biggest co-living at that point in time in northwest London. And I moved next door to Dan. So we became neighbours and we started hanging out. We became friends. And it was a lot of fun because it was like the early energy of that co-living community. It started in 2016. I was there in 2018. Dan was there from the beginning in the first year. And it was pretty exciting because it was like, it was a new thing. For me, I went on a tour with one of my close friends of the co-living space, and he said, if you don't move in here, I'm going to move in here. Another friend. So it was a really cool experience. And I got to know Dan. We became good friends because we both have weird and wacky, innovative ideas, and we were always like bouncing ideas off of each other. And we made loads of friends in the building, and there was a real like heart and soul to the community in that co-living. And then COVID struck, and then the co-living started getting into financial difficulties, people leaving, and the heart of the community slowly got sort of eroded away from just being neglected a bit by management. And then residents didn't really, they held these like town halls, but it wasn't really a good forum for change, for a real voice for residents. And we started seeing these like comedy moves by the management, like when the laundry machines broke down, there was one laundry machine available. They send an email and they say, guys, we recommend you queue up at 2 a.m. in the morning to reserve your place for the laundry machines. So we used to laugh about this because, you know, it was quite funny, but also on a serious note, we're like, okay, given all these problems in co-living, how would we fix this if we started again and did co-living again? How can we empower co-living residents to support that like special community soul that we saw here in this co-living community that gradually got eroded away? So a couple of years ago, we were sitting down having a chat about, just for fun, how would we fix co-living? And that was where Co-Living DAO was born. I brought my angle into the story and the stuff I was working on in governance and new ways of making decisions. And Dan brought in some elements from DeFi, crypto, and his world. And we realized, wait, if we put these together, this could be a 360-degree solution. This is pretty cool. And that's where Co-Living DAO was born, and that's where we are today, just as a taster for the intro.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. And you also forgot to mention that you already have a podcast where you invite speakers. It's called Co-Living DAO Podcast, and this comes out on a monthly base, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, so we are having sessions there. We're publishing new episodes every second week. So I definitely encourage everyone to check it out. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much every major podcast platform. You can find it as a Co-Living DAO Insights. We call it the Web3 path to regen living because we believe that Web3 is going to play a major role in really empowering people, enabling people to own their own future and share more value and be able to be more connected, which is a very big point as well. So yes, absolutely. If you haven't yet, make sure to check out the podcast.
I'll stick a link in the chat so people can access it as well. You have it there.
And just like Daniel said,